this going. Let me share screen. For those that don't know me, my name is Tiffany Hampton. I am out of the KW Portland, Maine office. I am the regional productivity coach. Does everybody see my Ignite screen? I'll take that as a yes.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So I'm just going to get to the slide that I need. Here we go. So, and actually I'm going to move this over so I can see it better. The last couple of weeks, we've been really focused on what does your business look like? How do you build it? What does lead generation look like? And then today we're going to do lead follow-up, and we've been really focused on, how do you lead follow-up? What does staying in relationship look like? And today we're going to qualify our people. I do not have a chat monitor, so if you have a question, just say hello and we will go there. Let me just move this over here so I have everything I need. Here we go. So essentially, I asked before we started recording, what have you heard, right? What have you heard? What have you enjoyed so far in this session? What I heard was open houses and the training around open house. Does anybody else have something to share about what they've enjoyed that we've done so far? And again, just take yourself off mute and speak at me. This is the interactive part.
Sorry, I'm eating right now. That's my video's off, but I'm Jacqueline. I really enjoyed just like noticing if you do have a client and they don't buy, like they don't qualify and they don't buy with you that day, it doesn't mean that in the future they're not going to buy, and just strengthening that relationship with them.
Right.
Essentially forever. So if they do ever buy with you, maybe then they'll buy again, or like family member and stuff. It's just, don't feel defeated when they say they don't want to buy with you now, because it doesn't mean they'll never buy with you. Just keep on trying and strengthen that relationship.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, here's the deal, right? Our people, I actually have the wrong session up. Our people, they only buy houses every 7 to 10 years, right? Give or take. So if they're only buying houses every 7 to 10 years, what do we offer them, and who do they know, right? Because it's not the people in our database as much as it is the people that they know. And if we add value to them and we make sure that they understand that the win and the opportunity is that they're going to look like the hero when they give our name and we do the best job possible. Does that make sense? I'll take that quietness as a yes. All right, let me get back. So, anybody else have something that they want to share? All right. I know it's Monday. Some of us, the weather's icky for some of us. For others, it is not. All right, I got the right slide, so I'm going to repeat what we did on Friday. All right, so today we're going to qualify potential buyers and sellers. When you think about qualifying buyers, what does that mean to you?
Determining how ready they are or motivated they are to buy.
Absolutely, right? Is it somebody that I want to go show houses to? Do they have the ability to purchase? These are that's what we're going to talk about today. So essentially, step one is to find the motivated. Motivated are people that are in the next 60 to 90 days, they are ready to go. We're going to identify where to find them, how to find them, and what steps to make sure that when they're ready to make the move, we get the appointment. So your number one job as a real estate agent is to find ways to get in the path of motivated buyers and sellers. When we think about getting into the path, what does that mean? What are some ways that we can get into the path? You guys can do it. What are some ways to find motivated buyers and sellers? Anybody? Where can you find a motivated buyer and seller?
You can work with mortgage lenders.
Mortgage lenders, I love that.
Yeah.
Where else? Brianna, you said it
Expired
earlier.
listing.
Open houses.
Open houses, and I missed somebody was speaking. What did you say? Sorry.
Sorry, it's very noisy. I was saying that expired listings.
Expired listings, absolutely. Where else? So we got open houses, lenders, expired listings. There's one more I'm thinking about. Who pretends to be a real estate agent every once in a while?
Attorneys.
Attorneys, absolutely. For sale by owners, absolutely. Good job. So when we're looking at finding the motivated, you know, I've said before on this call, if you cold call, it's 100 to 1. If now business, it's 40 to 1, and then people in your database, it's 12 to 1, because everybody in your database over the course of a year, someone mentions 7 times, 7 different people mention that they're thinking about real estate. So what myths do you hold about finding buyers and sellers? What's preventing you from taking the action? I know in my world personally, I don't want to be told no. I'm not a fan of I'm not a fan of, oh, well, I don't want to work with you, right? So it's my mindset around it. What else prevents you from taking action to find the motivated? And if you're on the first session, we talked about like misunderstandings and what prevents us from taking the action. What would prevent us from taking the action of finding the motivated and asking great questions? So everyone on this call is going to hang up and they're going to call expireds and for sale by owners. No limiting beliefs. Fantastic.
Mine is having like awkward conversations, like on the phone. Because I mean, I usually text people, I'll be honest, like my friends, anyone I communicate with. So like just picking up the phone and maybe having an awkward question like, hey, how are you? I know this is like kind of weird hearing from me, but those kind of like people that I know getting on the phone with is.
Yeah. And, at the end of the day, the strengthening the relationship piece of it is that first phone call, you may not even talk about real estate, right? You may go through the Ford conversation and talk about occupation but you may not even ask for a referral. You may just talk and reconnect. So not every conversation is going to sound the same way. And it's going to look a little bit different. And yes, you have to be comfortable. However, you also need to let them know that you're in real estate. All right. So this slide really shows you how buyers are found, right? When you look at buyers, you have your referrals, all buyers, first-time buyers, repeat buyers, right? And then you have used the agent previously. That number should be 1,000 times higher. And here's the really cool thing, because that number is so low, that's why you guys have a great win. A great opportunity for you guys to really take advantage of is go into your MLS and look at who purchased a house 7 years ago. Then double check and see if it's resold. If it hasn't resold, start building a relationship. Because if you look at this number, all buyers, only 13% of all buyers will use that same agent. When they were interviewed after the closing, that number was like 87%. The reason why it drops down to 13% is because they don't stay in touch with them. So finding people that purchased a house 7 to 10 years ago and building a relationship with them is an opportunity for you. Inquired about a property that they saw, 7%, website 7%, for sale signs 5%, visit an open house 4%. What's important about these numbers is if you were on the call on Friday with me, one of the things it said was that most buyers and sellers will work with the first agent that they interview. So right there, that's 27, that's 31%, that if you left an impact when you had a conversation with them, they will work with you. Now on the seller side, 39%, well, let's go to seller side. 47% of the sellers will work with somebody that was referred to them. 24% will work with an agent that they used for their last transaction. And then personal contact, 3%, referral from another agent, 4%, website, 3%, open house, 2%, and for sale, open house signage, 1%. So this open house piece, here's a great idea for you. When you have people showing up at an open house and they say to you, hey, I just wanted to check out the house. Your script should be fantastic. Are you viewing that house as a buyer or as a seller? Or are you a neighbor just looking to see what the value is? Because a lot of sellers will go to an open house to see how you host your open house and whether they want to do business with you. So knowing that at the door will change how you have a conversation with them. And a lot of people forget that. Look at this one, personal contact by an agent. 3%, right? When you look at that number, that's that cold calling, that's that 100 to 1. So this literally says for every 100 conversations, there's a potential for 3 closed pieces of business. And then website, referral from another website, again, cold, right? For every 100 people that click on your website, fill out a form, 3 of them will probably do business with you. So once you have a client, what do you do with them? Right? That's the question. You put them in your contacts, you mark them as a lead, but you should take a second step. You should put them into your opportunities. If you look at the screen, it has cultivate. So how many people went to your open house that said that they were going to buy or sell real estate in the next 90 days? That you're supposed to stay in connection with? All of those people, if you put them under cultivate, and then every day you click on this cultivate button, you're more likely to reach out to them and check in with them. Remember, the first one in usually wins the game. So if you stay communicating with them, you're gonna make it happen. And then mark them, are they A, are they B, or are they C? A are people that are ready now in the next 90 days. B are people that in the next 6 months to 9 months. And then the C's are the people that someday, some way, somehow I will do it, right? That the opportunity piece, this piece here, this also lets you figure out your pipeline, right? So if you put the information in here and you ask great questions, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, you'll know, approximately how much money in volume, and then you'll know how much money in commission that you'll potentially get. If you look under appointment, there's $750,000 in volume over here. And then under leases, you'll see where it's $15,000 in volume. So this actually calculates your numbers to help you. So if you're not familiar in how to use opportunities, reach out to your market center tech trainer or to your productivity coach, and they will walk you through it. All right, let's take a second. What did you guys hear? What'd you hear, Jacqueline?
So I usually write all my stuff down on a piece of paper. That's just how I operate. So just seeing that you should put it into that cultivate is really helpful.
Yeah,
That's what I'm going to spend my time doing today. All my stuff, my appointments are written down on a piece of paper or on my iPhone, on my Google Calendar. So it's nice. I just need to start putting it into commands.
absolutely. Because how many of us have taken a business card for somebody and then it ended up on the floor of their their car, and then when they vacuumed out their car, what happens, right? Who can relate? I can relate. It's happened to me numerous times. What else? One more aha. Anybody? The reason I ask for ahas and for you guys to participate is because how you participate in here is how you participate everywhere. And it's really uncomfortable when you're a brand new agent. So my goal is to get you less fearful and more fearless, right? So having these conversations help you with that. So give me one more. What'd you hear? Diane?
I love that looking for people who bought 7 years ago or more and start targeting them and starting to get in relationship with them. That is a great tip, because when you're new, it's hard to, and especially if you're not from the area, which is what happens with a lot of real estate agents, they just don't know where to find their people. I think that's great.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for getting us to the move on point. I appreciate that, Diane. All right. So let's go back to the screen. Here we go. So let me get to the slide. Do you guys see the slide that says the next stage, today's agenda?
No,
Yes.
I see session 12, strengthening relationships.
Let me stop share. Thank you for that. It's a negative when you unshare and then share again. Hey, Diane, how long have you been in the business?
Well, until February 3rd, it'll just be 43 years, but it'll be 44 years on February 3rd.
I love it.
Yeah,
44 years.
starting at 2. We started preschool.
I know. Yeah. And so, because this is a huge issue for agents, when you first started, how did you feel?
Very driven, but I wanted to do what they were doing. I wanted to, not to be superficial. I wanted to drive what they were driving. I wanted to live how they were living. And I didn't really have a goal other than to have, the life other than I was a receptionist at the doofy at a company in California, in 78, actually. So anyhow, but how did I feel? I felt totally, there was no such thing as training back then, right? I mean, I remember being at my first closing and I was a buyer's agent that didn't exist. I was working with the buyer, but we're all technically sellers agents, and asking the sellers directly if they were going to go ahead and take care of that termite thing. It's like, it was way too late for that. I had no idea what I was doing. No idea what I was doing. So I'm just going to tell you guys, you're very blessed to be building this foundation and a company where anybody will help you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So here we go. So our next section is classify by able, ready, and willing. When you hear the words ready, willing, and able, right? We hear that a lot, and yet do we really focus on it? So focus becomes increasingly possible in direct proportion to how clear you are about what you want, when you want it, and what you must do to get it, right? So when we describe ready, willing, and able buyers, they need to know, what do they want, when do they want it, and how will they get it? And are they ready to take the action? It's no different than us as agents, right? As agents, are we ready? Are we willing? And are we able to take action? And a lot of times that able piece, we don't think we're able because we're not sure how to do it. So when we're thinking about our buyers and sellers, we have to come from curiosity and ask great questions. Like one question that you would want to ask on, if a house came tomorrow on the market, would you be willing to write an offer? Fantastic. Based on your willingness, that's 100%. If a property came on the market tomorrow, are you able? Is your financing in place? Do you have cash in place? Do you have your down payment in place? Are you able to make the transaction happen? Are you ready? Are you ready to sit down and write the offer and take the steps? So we have to ask our buyers this.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
And I'd be jumping ahead a bit, but in
No,
terms of
great.
like the pre-approval, like, can we talk about, is it okay to ask them if they've been pre-approved and kind of how that dialogue should unfold? Because I've been
Absolutely.
hearing mixed messages about it.
Yes. My opinion, when you think of the words ready, willing, and able, if you do not ask the question, are you pre-approved? Are you missing one of the ready, willing, and able questions?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we will definitely dive into that deeper, but don't be shy, right?
Okay.
Would you go to a car dealership and have the dealer let you drive off with the car if you didn't fill out the loan application and they didn't know what your credit score was? Like, this is no different than that. It's just, it's a longer process because you view more homes. That makes sense?
Yeah, thank you.
So we talked about this a little bit. We have our A buyers, they're ready now. We have our B buyers in a period of time. We have our C buyers someday, right? When we looked at converting the possible business in session 11 and then nurturing the relationships in session 12, each one of these nurtures looks a little bit different. So what would you do differently for A buyers than you would do for C buyers? If you had an A buyer, what conversation would you have with them? Anybody?
What do you want to see and when do you want to see it?
I love it. Point blank and period, right? What else? What other questions would you ask your A buyer? Really important one. It's around paperwork. If you have an A buyer, what should be done first?
Do they have a pre-approval?
Pre-approval, fantastic.
State disclosure,
State disclosure, absolutely. What else?
buyer agency agreement.
Absolutely, right? Those are your A buyers. Remember when I said that your buyers, 47% of the buyers would work with your first agent they worked with? If you don't ask for the order, they're going to go to the next agent. So those 53% that worked with a different agent, was it because they wanted to work with a different agent, or was it because you didn't ask for the order? So don't be shy. You have to get through 100 no's to get a couple of yeses in every aspect of this business. And the better you get at asking the questions and diving deep, the shorter that number gets. So instead of it being 100 people, it may be 50, it may be 20, it may be 30. Like, that changes. Any other thoughts around like that A buyer? Now, when you look at your B buyer, what's some things that you could do to take your B buyer and make them an A buyer? And I think we talked about this last week, maybe Friday. It was an acronym we talked about. If we want to get somebody to take action, what do we want to give them?
A MOFR.
Yes, yes. Make an offer for immediate response. So what could that offer sound like for a buyer, right? What would a make an offer for immediate response for a buyer sound like today?
If I was able to show you a house within your budget that met all your requirements, would you be willing to put in an offer and move forward?
Absolutely. What would be a MOFR for a seller? In my opinion, seller MOFRs are so much easier. What do sellers need to do? What do we put on their door? What do we put in their front yard,
For sale?
right? Who do we call to take pictures? Who do we call for staging, right? So when you're thinking of MOFRs for sellers, is one MOFR may be, let's schedule our appointment today so we can have your stager out next week. Let's get the photos of your property done now before there's a waiting list. Because your competition is starting to think about selling. And then your C buyers, they really don't have any immediate need to transact right now. However, that changes. So how often are you reaching out and saying, I know you said that you're not looking to sell for about a year, just checking to see, have your plans changed? And remember, listing your home and closing on your home are two different things. So when I talk to sellers, I want to know, what month do you want to close on your house? Because if they tell me I want to sell in the spring, well, the spring is what? Like, well, we're New Englanders, right? So we have mud season in March, right? And then we have another winter at the end of March, and then we have April, and then maybe we have another winter in April, right? So, and then we have May, and then we have the beginning of June, and then hopefully by the middle of June, it's summertime. So spring is 4 months. So do they want to sell in early spring, mid-spring, late spring? Knowing that information helps us, and then reaching out to them and just checking in helps us know whether or not they want to make a move sooner than later. Any thoughts around that? All right, give me a couple ahas. What'd you hear about the ABC piece? Don't be shy.
I'll just-
Go ahead. I heard somebody. What were you saying?
I was gonna say, I like the ABC piece. Can almost make a tagging command for your potential buyers too.
100%.
And then you could search, you can bulk tag them or anything like that, just to get it done quicker.
Absolutely. Yeah, let your technology work for you. All right, so now we qualify the buyers. And this is probably the easiest yet the hardest, because the questions are asked for you. You just have to ask the questions, right? So what do we need to do? Why do we want to qualify them? And we talked about this a little bit. You don't want to go out and show properties and write an offer and then them not be qualified to purchase the property. So when you think about qualifying leads and contacts, we already talked about the fact that you want them to have a pre-approval letter. You want to know when they want to be in their property. You want to know, are they A, B, or C buyers? Are they ready, willing, and able to work with you only and sign an exclusive listing agreement, right? We want to make sure we follow a checklist, and we want to make sure we follow fair housing guidelines. Everyone who took, who's newer, and every 2 years, we have to do a code of ethics and do fair housing. Make sure you're asking the right questions. So in your packets, there's the buyer lead sheet, and then there's a seller lead sheet, right? So you want to use your qualifying, and this was, someone had mentioned, do we want to know if they've been pre-approved, right? Like, some of these questions are fantastic. Has an agent taken you out and shown you properties? How is it going? Is there anybody else buying the home with you? Will you be living in the home? How long have you been looking for a home? I'm curious, why are you moving, right? All of these questions are to qualify and get more information on the property. I want to help you find the right home that fits your needs. Tell me, how many bedrooms, how many baths? It also makes you look like a professional. So when you're asking these questions, the more you ask these questions, the more professional you look. And there is a question in your participant guide. You have both a buyer questionnaire and a seller questionnaire. So we're going to take a few minutes, and I'm not going to break you up into rooms because I'm not sure we have, let's see, we have 20 people on the screen, including myself and Diane. So I would really like to take a look and just what questions, let's just do question pops. So everyone take themselves off mute. This is your action. Take yourself off mute. And I just want you to start throwing out questions, and there are no wrong questions. Diane, start us off. Give me one question.
Is this a question to ask a buyer or seller?
Yep.
Okay. Have you seen property with any other agents?
Okay. All right. Somebody else throw out a question.
Are you pre-approved? Did you talk to your bank? Did you talk to a mortgage lender?
Love it. Give me another question.
How
How
long
many
have you been
bedrooms
looking?
would you like?
How long have you been looking? I heard that. What was the other one?
How many bedrooms would you like?
How many bedrooms would you like?
What area would you like?
Absolutely.
Are you
Diane.
looking at an area? Any specific area?
Absolutely. Diane, I heard your hand raised.
You heard, I would actually ask, when would you like to, for a seller, when would you like to move out of your home?
Right.
Because sometimes you can give them, you can sell their home and negotiate them staying after the closing, so.
Yep. For a seller, I would ask, when's the last time you've sold a home? Right? When's the last time you bought a home?
Could ask a buyer if they have to sell too.
Yeah. Do you have to sell your current home in order to purchase? And if they're renters, are you in a current lease? If we bought if we found a house that you liked and we closed before your lease expired, do you have a contingency plan? What other questions? You guys did a good job.
I think for seller, where are you planning to move to?
Yep. Yeah. Oftentimes with sellers, we don't get both sides of the business, or we don't get that referral fee because we don't ask that question. Absolutely. Now you're moving to Florida. Fantastic. A lot of us don't think to ask the next question. Have you started interviewing agents down there? All right. Great job. Anybody else have another question they want to add?
Are you buying alone, or are you the only owner of the property?
Yep. Who else are the decision makers?
Yeah, I think it's really important not to hijack things, but to say, will there be anybody else weighing in on this decision?
Yep. Yes. And for first-time home buyers, will you be bringing your parents to every showing? Will you be bringing your parents to the home inspection? What impact do your parents have in your decision-making? I would want to know that up front. I can't tell you how many parents have hijacked a real estate transaction. So having that information up front will help you guide, because if you know that the parents are going to make the ultimate decision, you may bring them along before you write the offer. And then you also need to learn how to handle their objections, because no parent wants to see a child buy a house that is broken or used or many other things. Like, they get to the inspection and they want everything done by the seller because they want the best for their baby, right? So knowing that piece is huge. Anybody here have bought a house and their parents weighed in? I see Brianna. I saw in your eyes that you knew exactly what I was talking about.
Oh yeah, he was part of the home inspection.
Yeah. And they can easily derail the transaction. 100%. All right. Great job coming up with different ideas and different questions. All right. So now we know that it's 19 contacts to build the relationship and 36 conversations to convert into a piece of business. I think we did this on Friday, where we kind of just came down with the ideas. If you have a buyer that is a C buyer, those people you are going to send real estate information to. It might be a monthly marketing report. It might be things to think of when you're thinking of buying. It may be have you thought about attending these open houses? So those connection pieces, when you know you have somebody that I call in my pipeline that are ready, willing, and maybe able, or able, willing, and maybe ready, what does the conversation look like? Okay. And then the qualifying the sellers, no different, right? How did you hear about me? Where are you moving? What's motivating you to move there? How soon do you have to be there? If we sell your home in the next 30 days, will that pose a problem? What would happen if you didn't sell your home? How much do you want to list it for? How much do you owe on it? I'll be sending you a packet. Are you willing to take a few minutes and look at it before we meet? Do you have any questions before we meet? Will all decision makers be there when we meet? What's really cool about this pre-questionnaire for sellers is if you do this right, the only thing you have to do at the listing appointment is show them your marketing, give them a price, because asking these questions, you've already built the relationship. When we look at, just so you know, our meeting will take between blank and blank. I look forward to meeting with you. If I do my questionnaire correctly, my meeting with them could be as I timed it once. Doing this questionnaire right, I did my listing meeting within 28 minutes because I had answered all their questions. I had gotten all of their objections, and now I just had to show up and answer their objections. This is also where you do not sell them, right? You don't sell them over the phone because you could talk yourself right out of the listing appointment if you say the wrong thing. So ask the questions. If they have an objection or they have a question, that's a great question. I'm looking forward to meeting with you this time and we'll go over that, right? The biggest one is, what's your commission? If you say the wrong number, you might lose the listing appointment, right? So if they say, what's your commission? I'd love to share that with you and the marketing plan during our meeting, whenever that meeting is. So don't answer the questions around commission, the easiest way to get yourself out. We already touched on this a little bit. So
Wait, I have one quick question.
absolutely.
Sorry. So I did see, hold on, sorry. Sorry, never mind. I have like 2 crazy dogs here.
No, go ahead and ask with the crazy dogs. It's okay. I can hear between
Okay.
them.
Okay, so, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead. Just ask.
Let me just put them outside. Go.
So while they're doing that, the lead follow-up plan, are you ready?
Yeah, sorry. Okay, so on, like, when we do ask, like, how much, like, you have left on your loan,
Yep.
what is that? I mean, I know that we have to put that into the listing, but why do we put that into the listing? Sorry, silly question.
No, it's not a silly question, right? Because let's say the market's shifting. The last 2 years, the prices were going up, right? But what if they owe more than the house is worth?
Yeah.
That's going to change the conversation we're going to have. What if the numbers are tight?
Okay.
So the 3 things that do not impact the price on a house is what the buyers want, what the neighbors sold the house for, or what they owe on the house,
Yeah.
right? Not or sellers want, not buyers, sorry. So it doesn't matter what the sellers want. It doesn't matter what they owe on the house, and it doesn't matter what the neighbors down the street's house sold for, because that house might be different. Not all houses are equal, right? So when we ask those questions, it just helps us guide where we're going to go next. Because if we know that it's very skinny, we're going to need to be able to have that conversation with them.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So over the course of the last 4 sessions, we've really spent the time following up, learning how to convert, how to stay on top of mind. And today we talked about qualifying the buyers and the sellers. What questions do you guys have around that? And if you have none, I'm just going to hear that we did an awesome job explaining everything. All right. And Ryan, absolutely short sales. He put it in the chat. Some people owe more than what they house is worth. And then we're gonna have a whole different conversation, which you may decide that you want to refer that out. Absolutely. Diane.
They have the chat monitor, but I don't see anything in the chat. So is my thing screwed
No,
up?
that was a direct message to me.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
I just caught it. Yeah. All right. Ask questions. This is a really short session because it's really getting familiar with that questionnaire. So what do you guys have questions around in general? Not just this session, because I really want to move you from fearful to fearless as much as possible, so you take action. So ask me questions. It can be related to anything, not specific to this session.
Wait, can we go back on the mortgages real quick?
Yeah.
So if we don't know those questions, right? And you said refer it out, like what I want, I mean, I like eventually obviously want to be familiar with all those questions. But is that something you can talk to your mortgage person with? Can you, I mean, we have like I know him personally, so like, I don't know like how to keep that relationship like friendly in business. Like, is it okay to talk about those things? Like ask those questions or?
100%, 100%. So, and honestly, I was talking about the short sale aspect of it. Doing a short sale is a lot. And I was in the business in 2008, and Diane, I'm sure you have PTSD from the 2008, 2010 market. There were a lot of short sales back then, and I had no idea what I was doing. It took me a little bit to learn it. The first couple I did with a partner. Like I referred it to somebody and said, hey, can I just follow you through the process? I don't need anything. Just pay me the referral fee, and I really want the education, right? So when it comes to the mortgage piece, you want to familiarize yourself on the seller side with what properties qualify for what mortgages, right? Because you have FHA, you have RD, you have conventional. If you go FHA, there's certain guidelines, like there can't be any peeling paint. You know, any loan really has to have a roof that has a 2-year lifespan, or you need to do a like a renovation type loan. So speaking to your lender, Jacqueline, 100%. I would go talk to my lender and say, what do I need to know as a listing agent when it comes to what qualifies and doesn't qualify a property?
Thank you.
What other questions do you guys have? Again, anything not specific to this topic, anything specific to getting yourself into business.
I mean, I have a million.
Well, you're saying them out loud. I'm sure other people are thinking them. Brianna, I saw you come off mute, and then I'll go back to Jacqueline.
So this is kind of specific to the topic today. I have a few potential buyers. So I've met them at open houses. Both have said they're pre-approved. I'm like dying to sit with them and like go through this. I've thrown that out there, but like it's crickets. So I think it's just like one of my insecurities and questions is like, what is the balance? Like, I want to be available. I want to be the face, you know, I want to let them know, but I also don't want to be too pushy.
Yep.
But like, I'm really dying to get more information, because I feel like the more I know about what they're looking for and need, the more I can better serve them. So it's kind of where I'm at. I don't know if you have any.
So number one, it's a lot harder for people to say no to you face to face, voice to voice. So if you're sending a text saying, hey, I'd love to get together and go over, it's easy for them to ignore you. It's a lot harder for them to ignore you when it's voice to voice or face to face. And then you have to solve the problem. What's in it for them? Like what's in it for them to meet with you now versus later? So I think one of the conversations I would have around meeting now is, you know, we're getting close to spring market, and some sellers decide that they want to put out their house on the market before their competition does. Let's sit down and meet so we could talk about your desires and wants in this next house. So if something pops up, I can be on the lookout. This is not about you, it's about them. Like, how can you turn it around so it's about them and not you?
Yeah.
A lot easier said than done. And they'll reach out to you when they're ready. We just want to get them readier a lot sooner. So asking great questions will get you there. Jacqueline, what do you got for a question?
You know what? Go to everybody else. I'm like brand new, so obviously I'm gonna have a million questions. Anyone else have any more good questions? Because I'm sure I'm thinking the same thing.
Ask a question that you have, and then I'll go to the next person.
Okay, so I'm more of like, because I'm still on that, like when they talk to the mortgage people and they get pre-approved. If someone is like a business owner and doesn't make a lot of money on paper, right? But they
That's a
want
problem.
that's a problem, right?
Yeah,
But they
it
still
depends on
bring a
the-
lot of money in. Is there, I like kind of saw something, I like was looking at different types of mortgages and stuff, and I was looking at like a what was it called? A paycheck loan
Yeah,
or something.
there is a loan that goes based on your bank statements, but at
Bank
the end of the
statement.
day, they absolutely look. That's the biggest bottleneck. Many of us during COVID went out and started our own jobs. And this is
Yeah.
relevant to everybody. You should know and understand this. A lot of your business owners, they have to have 2 years of tax returns that show that they make a decent amount of money. And you're all in business for yourself now. The bottleneck is you don't want to pay the government too much in taxes. And yet if you don't if you don't claim enough income, then you have a hard time buying houses and things because you don't show the income. So there's this fine line, and this is something that you're going to talk to your lender about. However, if you have business owners that are thinking of buying in 2 years, I would absolutely have them have a conversation with their accountant and a lender saying, based on what I desire to do, how much income should I show? Right? That's step one. And there's a difference. And again, I know enough to be dangerous. This is where an accountant comes in and a lender comes in, but there's a difference between credits and how much income you write off because you have expenses. So you are able to really figure out those numbers, but I would immediately involve an accountant and a lender. The other side of it is there is programs out there, certain lenders have that. If you don't have those 2 years, you can do it based on your bank statements. They're riskier, quote unquote, loans, so their interest rates are higher. But again, I would refer that person out because they'll get the information directly from you. Want to be the source of the source and not the source.
Yeah.
Always want to be the source of the source.
Okay, thank you.
What other questions do you guys have? I have a question for all of you. Who has been doing the success system?
Yes.
Jason and Jacqueline. I'm going to start with Jason. Jason,
Yeah.
How's it going?
So I've been partially doing it. Are you talking about the 10-5-1?
The 10, well, that's part of it. It's the
Okay.
10 conversations.
Yeah.
It's the 10 contacts added to the database.
Right.
The 10-5-1.
I've been doing part of it then. So I haven't fully got 10. So I have more than 10 contacts in the database, but each time I've gone out to do the activities, I haven't fully gotten 10 contacts to add to it. I have made contacts. I have liked on Instagram and stuff like that, but I have never always met 10-10 and then the 10-5-1.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're doing activities. Jacqueline and then Diane.
Honestly, I'm kind of in the same boat as Jason, I would say. And most of my conversations are via text or via social media. So I really need to pick up that dang phone.
Right. And just know a two-way conversation about real estate. They're better if they're phoning in person. And if you're doing it two-way text or social media, as long as it's two-way and you talk about real estate and you ask for business, I'm okay with it. Diane.
So I'm just curious, does everybody have a name tag?
Yes, we should have all gotten one.
Okay. Is that a yes for everybody? Okay. Because they're more important than business cards unless somebody has x-ray vision. So just make sure, wear your name tag everywhere, Jason, and you might be surprised at who starts talking to you.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah, and and some of you heard this. One of the classes I taught previously. I love when I'm in a grocery line and I have my KW hat on and my tag on, and somebody says, "Oh, how's the market?" My response back always is, Great question. Are you thinking it from the side of a buyer, seller, or an investor? Right? Because the conversation isn't always the same for everybody. And if they, oh, I was just thinking in general, great. And you asked a qualifying question, what we're talking about today, to see if it's somebody that should ready, willing, and able to buy now. What else? So I'm going to get real with you guys for a minute. Everybody is where you were at one point in time. Everybody had the fears that you have at one point in time. Some of us are a little stronger. I feel like, Diane, you were like, I'm ready to go. I'm going to make it happen, whatever it takes, right? Like that's the energy I feel from you. And we're talking 42 years later, right? So knowing that, and 25 years, right? I remember the first time I picked up the phone and cold called, I was scared to death. You know, when it changed and I picked up the phone, I made the call, I got hung up on, I got hung up on. And then within the first 16 conversations, I listed a 4-unit property on Valley Street in Portland that sold in a week. Now, don't you think that because that happened, I'm more likely to pick up the phone? So you just have to find that win, right? You got in this business, and we did this at the first week. You got into this business because you desire something different in your life. You desired whatever that rich is to you. And rich does not mean rich in the sense of having more money than you know what to do with. Rich could be anything, right? Whatever those desires are, every time you do not want to pick up the phone, every time you do not want to talk about real estate, remember that desire. And is that desire strong enough to get you past so that you actually pick up the phone? Our goal between now and 2025 is how do we support 100,000 agents to do 18 transactions or more a year? And how do we support 100,000 agents to become millionaires? I want to know how many agents on this want to do 18 transactions or more, and how many agents on here want to become millionaires. If that's what you desire to do, you need to put a sign up wherever you're going to make phone calls, or in your car, on your bathroom mirror, in front of your computer. And every time you don't want to take action, remember the fact that you got into this business to change your life and to change the lives around you. And just like riding a bike, graduating high school, graduating college, learning how to cook, learning how to do whatever it is you learned how to do, at one point in time, you did not know how to do it, and you took action. So do not sell yourself short. Because I know the reason why folks don't talk to me on this screen is not because they don't want it, it's because they're nervous. And this is the safest place for you to be, to just have conversations. That makes sense?
I have a hack.
Go for it.
Pick 3 or 5 people, whatever it is, text them first thing in the morning and say, hey, Tiffany, we haven't chatted in a while. I'd love to catch up. What's a good time for me to call you today, or is tomorrow better?
Right.
I promise you, if you send 5 texts, we'll get at least 3 people back, because they're not going to say there is no time at all.
Right.
And then that's what you have to do. You have to call them when they said to.
Right.
And then it's a warm conversation. So
Yeah.
stop texting as Tiffany said, as your sole means of communication, but plant the seed. If you plant the seed that way, you better damn water it.
Yeah. And do what you say you're going to do when you say you do it. That's the biggest way to lose a relationship, is not do what you say you're going to do when you said that you were going to do it. Anybody else have something they want to share? This is about you guys. Go
I
ahead.
have a question, Tiffany.
Yes.
So I went to an open house, like it's new constructions that are coming up.
Mhm.
So can we post those listings saying that, okay, I went to this open house, like, do you want to buy any of this house? Like, this is listed by so-and-so. Can we put that listing from anyone, whoever it is? Like, or
You
do
have
we
to
have
get
to post
permission
only
from
for
the
them?
listing agent. If you get permission from the listing agent to do it in writing, absolutely. But you have to
Oh,
get,
we have to get it in writing?
yes.
Is there a
Just
form for
because-
that?
No, just have them send an email, like send an email and say, hey, I'd like to share your your property on social media, would that be okay? And if they reply back, yes, and it would be, would that be okay with you and your seller? You just need to protect yourself because Code of Ethics says that we can't market other agents' listings. You have to have written permission to do that.
Yeah, by word of mouth, she said, okay, but I'll get it in writing through
Get it
email.
in writing because people could say, I never said that. Not saying that they would, but they could say that. Edward.
Hi, brand new. I haven't even had my one-to-one yet. I'll have that this week. Excited to be on here. I know it's towards the end of the class, but you know, just a brand new agent and really just got on here to, I mean, I'm learning. I know this is towards the end of it, but you know, for someone who has never been licensed before, just starting their career, what are some good, you know, I'm ready to go after it, you know, but it's kind of like, okay, well, I'm literally just getting started and where do I start? I'm trying to get my hands and attend every class I can get to. But then I know there's the implementation of what you learn. So, yeah, for someone who's green like me, what do you recommend?
So my first thing is, when you have your one-on-one, you're going to get a little clarity. However, the first thing I would do as a brand new agent is who's everybody I know that I would want to be in relationship with. There are people you know and that you would never want to do a transaction with.
Right.
Those people out of your world and just the people that you know, and get that to 201 as quickly as possible. Everything else will come together when you take a class and then take action. Take a class. Don't go to class for entertainment. If you take a class and you didn't walk away with something applicable, like today's class, if it was anything at all, everyone that said in the next 6 months they're thinking of buying or selling real estate, putting them in your opportunities would be the absolute thing that I would do immediately.
Okay.
Brianne, I saw you hop off mute and then come back on mute. Do you have something that you wanted to share?
I just wanted to share, hey, Edward, what's been helpful, I mean, I'm brand spanking new myself, is the social media world and like tapping into that. Even Facebook, they have so many different groups. So it's just good, like, even if you potentially have like someone interested in something, you could say, hey, I have someone interested in X, Y, and Z. Anyone know of anything? And it's a good way just to kind of like spark conversation even, and just, I find even talking to other realtors, like just so they know that you're in the game and if they have anything or referrals. But yeah, I get it. I can relate. I'm hungry, but also a bit over my head. So I got my floaties on though.
Yeah. And if you haven't, I would attend Sunday open houses for 2 reasons. Number one, you learn the inventory, and number 2, you learn how to host a great open house. You'll find if you went to 4 to 5 open houses a weekend, depending on where you are and if they're out there, you're going to learn what agents do well and what agents could do better and who you desire to be. And then once you get comfortable with what those conversations sound like, ask as many agents as possible, do you have a listing that I can hold open for you? Okay. The three lead sources a brand new agent should be focused on is open houses, your database, and social media. And online leads, and not online leads that you pay for, online leads that you get through social media marketing and conversations.
Okay. Thank you.
So Tiffany, I was talking to you about the call. I think our market center discontinued that. Is there any way like we can find out, like when we call, we have to make sure they are not in the do not call list, right? Like, so what other thing will assist me with that?
Yeah. So the do not call list, you can, I believe you can go up to 3 area codes for free before you have to start paying. So I would go online and just go to I think it's dnc.gov or do not call.gov and sign up yourself personally.
Okay, thank you. dnc.gov, okay.
All right, if you guys have nothing else, you have 1 hour to lead generate from 10 to 11.
Thank you, Tiffany.
You're welcome. Commit to at least 5 conversations today.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks,
Bye.
Tiffany.